If you load it up big, you better clear the rest. The solvent list takes away all my stress. Life's been feeling like kind of a mess. I'll never let a hater make me think less, because everything before this was just a test.
Grenskye Chronicles.
Yeah, we've been getting hella faded. Just like our eyes, we be staying low-key. Vibing out, always staying.
Ladies and gentlemen, the fan is unplugged in my grow tent because it is time for the Bag Seed Chronicles. Welcome back. I am your host, Uncle Dig. As always, it has been too long. I'm happy to have you back on. I have Red Scare Seeds. Dr. Grenskye is on, telling us all about what he's working on recently. Very excited about the Skywalker OG he's working on. Can't wait to talk all about it. In fact, at the time of this release, he has already dropped it because I take too long to edit things. So please go check him out at Red Scare Seed Co. I think 7.0 on Instagram and see if you can't get a hold of him and get some seeds. I've got a news update and then a garden update and then on to the interview. I'm a news ticker, and this is cannabis news you can use. The Jackson County Sheriff's Office in Jackson County, Southern Oregon, is raiding cannabis farms in Southern Oregon, and they're taking the detainees that they take at those cannabis farms, and they're giving them over to Immigration Customs Enforcement, and those people are being flown out of Medford to the Tacoma Detention Center up in Tacoma, Washington, as far as I know. These kidnappings are against Oregon sanctuary law, and I think everyone in the cannabis industry should be aware of them. As we all know, ICE has been lying about people's immigration status, and they have also been detaining U.S. citizens. Please be careful out there, folks. I believe in a diversity of tactics. Good luck. Uncle Dig's garden update. It is August 7th, 2025, and I am in Zone 8B. And this is Uncle Dig with your garden update. It is beautiful outside. The plants are just starting to tiptoe into early flower. Some, not all. All of the funk runts are in very, very early flower or pre-flower. The CBD Dutch treat is full on in early flower. And the Aga's Banana Patch are not in flower at all. So that's kind of where we're at as far as flowering. I've got the first trellis on at about 2.5, 3 feet, and I'll be putting on the next trellis at about 6 feet here soon. We'll be doing one more kind of moderate pruning session and no topping, and then that'll be it for the year, dude. We'll just stretch and then harvest, hopefully. I'm doing dry amendments. I've got soaker hoses on the plants for the first time in years because I'm in the ground, and it's working out really well. And I think I was leaving a lot on the table by not growing in the ground. I'm really glad I did it. I took some clones this year. I did a little cloning experiments where I took some of the lowers that I pruned and just clipped some clones off of them and put them in glasses of water, bottles of water on my back porch. And they rooted in that water. It took 15 to 20 days for them to shoot roots, but they did shoot roots. And I've got some of them indoors in a tent right now, and we're going to try to do a little clone of clone little perpetual run for a little while and see what happens. So I'm excited about that. I hope everyone is having an exciting and stimulating time in their garden like I am. Speaking of stimulating, I have grown some of the hottest jalapenos I've ever grown in my life this year, and I'm so excited to get pickling. In fact, that's where I'm headed. I'm going to be pickling. Bye.
Laws are going to have to be changed to keep pace with the new morality. They'll change or we'll have to break them.
Hey.
Hey, Dr. Grenskye, how you doing?
Good, man. How are you doing?
Good.
Plants, getting things rolling for the day. We had a late start. My 2-year-old slept till like 11, so, I had to just kind of hang around and wait for him before I could get started on the day.
Oh, geez. Yeah, that's totally backwards of my day. I kind of start right when I roll out, but yeah, you kind of got to adjust.
I have to adjust, yeah. And it sucks in the summertime because it's been 90 outside, 90 degrees, 90% humidity for like 2 weeks straight.
I don't want to jinx it. And we'll just get right into it. Welcome to the Bagseed Chronicles. This is Dr. Grenskye. He has a long-time breeder and cannabis cultivator based out of Kentucky and Southern Illinois. Welcome to the Bagseed Chronicles, Dr. Grenskye.
Thank you for having me.
He runs Red Scare Seed Company, which, if you've been following the Bagseed Chronicles for any length of time, you're familiar with some of his Afghan-based work because I've been growing it for 3 or 4 seasons now. And so you were saying it's hot where you're at.
Oh, yeah. Very hot. Very hot. I guess we're getting that Midwest corn sweat right now is what they call it. So as the corn matures in the Midwest, it puts off a lot of humidity and moisture in there, and then it just kind of carries this way. So you add that in with the 90-degree plus summer heat we get here, and then you're looking at 90% humidity with 90-degree heat. Feel like temps are 115 to 120.
Ooh.
Then you crawl up in the greenhouse, and all of a sudden you're talking 120 plus. So
the plants. Do the plants stall out beyond a certain type of heat?
We put on a shade cloth. It gets hot in there, but they pump out new growth every single day. I'm shocked at the resiliency of them.
Yeah,
a lot of that's genetic selection. If I put, you talked about Afghans. If I was to put a bunch of Afghans out there, they would stall. I've seen that in the past. They kind of stall out.
Yeah.
Some strains don't necessarily stall out. They get hot and stressed, and they'll start pre-flowering.
Oh, okay, interesting.
Yeah, and they'll just kick into hyperdrive and try to put out some flowers for survival.
Yeah, I haven't had the Afghans completely stall out. What I seem to notice, at least this is to me, and this might be my imagination, but when it peaks up above 100 degrees, especially if it's kind of a restrictive humidity, I have a little different conditions here, but at 105, 109, they kind of just stop growing, but they don't get sick. They don't get too stressed. They're stressed, but they're not too stressed, but they just kind of are all right, I'm just going to hold what I got until the temps drop back down into the upper 90s.
Yeah, that's a plus.
Now, that's crazy. See, we don't have the humidity here like y'all do. In the winter we do, so it can be a challenge sometimes when it's time to dry the bud, because then you're looking into October, November when we start getting rain, and because of the microclimate I'm in right here, it kind of traps all that moisture down toward the valley floor. We're in a bit of a rain shadow here. So, but in the summer, right now, if you were to go outside on my front porch, because I haven't watered in the last couple days, it could be 25% humidity.
Oh wow! Yeah.
So when I tell people if I have to pull plants in September, I have to pump humidity into my dry room. I'm not exaggerating.
Okay.
I'm running humidifiers in my. I've run humidifiers in my dry room before because I checked and it was 15% humidity. I'm like, well, I would like it to be 35% humidity would be better than this at this point. So.
Right, yeah. That 20% is a big deal when you're sitting at 15.
Yeah. And a lot of times what I'll do is I'll start my dry in an outer, in my garage, and let the plants kind of shed off any bugs they have. Sometimes they'll have, even if they don't have a pest problem, a lot of times there's a lot of predatory insects on my plants. So It'll give the spiders a chance to realize, oh, this thing's not really the greatest place to be anymore. They'll bounce. The ladybugs will jump off. Any aphids that are on there will fall off. And then I'll bring them into my room. Because one time I brought outdoor plants into my house, just straight away from outdoors. I bucked them. I'm like, all right, this is good. There might be a couple aphids, but... And bro, I had like swirls of like dead bugs around my power outlets, and I'm like, I'm never doing this again, ever.
Right. Yeah, I've done that a few times, and I always have to spray pretty heavy. You know, I'm paranoid about what I'm going to bring in.
Yeah, I got lucky. That time it was just aphids and ladybugs. I have usually, not every year, usually I have what I call my late season ladybug spike. Ladybug spike and aphid spike, because I basically I stop spraying by mid-flower if I can. Usually even, first 2 weeks of flower, I'm done. So all the bugs are like, oh, okay, he's not killing us anymore. And then also the temperatures drop, the humidity rises up back into the 40s, where I think the bugs reproduce better at like a middle of the road humidity range rather than that really low humidity or that really high humidity sometimes.
Right.
So I get a population explosion.
Yeah, and they're so resistant to everything now. Out where we're at, we have a neighbor who will spray basically, pesticides, herbicides on his field. I have to seal off my greenhouse completely to make sure, I don't get any drift or anything like that. We're on a drift watch because we have, we're an organic farm.
Right.
But we found out through the extension office here that it doesn't matter if you're on a drift watch, the farmers aren't notified. So, we've noticed late season that we get a few aphids too, and once if I bring something in, or like say I take some clones late season and veg, I have to be really diligent to make sure they're clean, because my neighbor has soybeans, and I've caught his soybean aphids before, and they're a pain in the ass to get rid of.
Oh, okay. So I have bong aphids here. I have the hemp aphid here. When hemp came out in 2017, and every Tom, Dick, and Harry in the Southern Oregon decided they were going to grow hemp, and allegedly maybe throw out a couple of wild plants out there too to have a little fun.
Yeah.
Whatever. Well, they weren't taking care of them like you would, a smaller batch cannabis grow. They were growing them in big fields, huge sheets of plastic. It was worse than any of even the commercial cannabis grows I've seen, where they just don't give a shit. They leave trash everywhere. If they close up shop, they just leave piles of trash. Well, their IPM was shit, and then they would trim their shit and put it in the back of their trucks. And then I think I had a couple guys, I have landscapers living on 3 sides of me, so they bring me new pests in piles of straw, because they'll go,
Oh, wow.
Yeah. Oh, it's rough. But I got them.
Stuff, yeah.
But I get them, everybody got them that first year, 2017, 2018.
Yeah.
And it was bad, and I'd never seen them before, because aphids come in different colors, and I hadn't seen aphids in this particular color. So I was like, oh, those are just little black flies. They were not just little black flies.
They were not. Yeah, I was shocked when I discovered how many types of aphids there are. I was shocked. It's like there's an aphid for every plant, it seems.
Yeah, and a lot of them.
Just that they're specific to that plant. They'll gladly hop onto any other plant and just suck the life out of it.
Yeah, they'll hop from a tree to a rose bush to whatever. But if they find
roses,
But if they find that plant that aphid's named after, oh boy.
Yeah.
So I want to talk to you about that. That was actually one of my questions today. I had like some more technical questions for you. I was going to ask if you ever brought cuts inside from outdoors, because I'm getting ready to attempt doing the same thing.
I do. It's kind of necessary for me sometimes to do that. One thing that I do is like, especially this time of year, if you're bringing one in, do a 50-50 soak of peroxide, 3% peroxide to water, and just let the plant, just hang it upside down, dip the whole clone in it if you want, the whole snip, and just let it soak in that for a few minutes. Pull it out and then rinse it off in clean water. Then plug it, and then you've at least got a jump start. You know, you're washed off any eggs, you sanitize the plant, and you've got a good start for it.
I already didn't do that.
It's not too late. If you've already plugged them, you know, you can still take them. You can still rinse them in the peroxide.
Yeah.
It's a really quick, easy way to sanitize clones and get clones, you know, clean and ready for the indoors.
Okay. Yeah, I've had mixed luck plug-in clones, and so this year I'm doing like a different experiment. So that peroxide mixture is just full hydrogen peroxide mixed 50% with water.
That's it. 3% peroxide, and then just mix it 50-50 with your water.
So 3% peroxide is the percentage of the bottle.
Yeah.
Okay.
And that's just your common that you would find in most stores. You know,
Okay.
I think to get a higher percent, you probably have to go something, you know, to a specialty store to get it. But yeah, that's it. It's simple.
So
and then, you know, you can do it.
Go ahead.
After that, you can do like a Dr. Bronner's peppermint soap or something like that, and then do a rinse with that as well.
Okay.
But always go back to your water. You know, you don't want to leave oils or anything like that on the clone where it's going to retain moisture and be under light where it could potentially, you know, do cellular damage to the leaves.
Okay, so give it a good rinse off with that solution and then rinse it off with water.
Yep.
Okay.
And then it's getting double rinsed as well, you know, so any eggs, anything like that, you know, it's a double chance to get washed off.
So I didn't do plugs this time. I'm doing a little I tried something that I've never tried before, which because I was pruning my plants and I was like, well, I got all these branches and usually I just kind of rough chop them and throw them right on top of the top layer of soil. And then that like frass or whatever you want to call it will get worked in with whatever I dry them in with next, whether it's worm castings or, you know, 444, you know, veg dry amendment or whatever it might be. Or if I water in some liquid, anything I'm doing on the top layer, I'll kind of scratch it in when I go back out there. And this time I was like, well, let me take a couple of rough cuts and throw them in some bottles of water on my back porch and see what happens. And they're slow, but they're starting to root.
That's what's up. You know, a lot of places won't do that, but if you find one that does, you know, that's awesome.
So
I feel like I always doing that, and every time I try it, I never get roots that way. I don't know. But I've seen other people do it my whole life. So that's pretty cool.
Yeah, I have a buddy who likes to say, oh, when people say that won't work, they just means that won't work for them.
Precisely. You know, that's what I'm saying. People say that won't work, and I've seen it work. For me, I don't know. I'm doing something wrong. It doesn't really work for me.
It could be a microclimate on my back porch that works for it.
It very well could be, you know, and there's so much that goes into things like that, you know, so many intricacies that a simple humidity change or, you know, maybe I keep my house a few degrees cooler or something like that. I don't know.
Dr. Grenskye, they are sitting on my back porch in Coca-Cola bottles.
You've got some winners, my friend.
Well, not all of them are rooting. So so your one cut of the Aga's banana patch is it's covered in nubbins and it's still green, but it won't shoot a long root yet. But I know it will because, like I said, it's covered in nubbins.
Yeah, that means it's ready to explode some roots there.
And then I have a Funk Runts from Brainstrap out of Colorado. That
he's good people.
I've hit him up. I'm gonna hit him up again. I'm gonna try to clout chase for a while and then hit him up again. Maybe I'll hit him up again after I drop this episode.
You know, I need to hit him up as well. Not to sidetrack here, but you know, I was going through a rough patch and you know, he reached out to me. I didn't even know he had my phone number. He reached out to me and, you know, offered, you know, anything I needed. He was just a really good person in a really tough time. So I won't forget that. So Brainstrap, good people in my book. Love that dude.
Oh yeah, he's good. Well, I mean, the reason I have these seeds, like I don't generally buy premium seeds unless they come on a hefty sale or someone gives them to me. So I buy yes. So, but I got a free pack of this Funk Runts a few years ago on a veterans giveaway that I kind of thought it was on Instagram, and I was like, I signed up for it. And I honestly kind of thought I might be getting scammed, but I'm like, you know what? Have a little faith. And a bunch of different seeds come up, and out of that pack, I've had Gem Seeker on, and I've grown, you know, a bunch of different stuff out of that, and it was a gold mine. It turned into a gold mine.
That's awesome.
I ever would have run into Gem Seeker without getting hooked up with the guy who gave me those packs out of Oklahoma. So like when growers and breeders would think about this, when you're giving away free packs, especially if it's not even like, you know, production seeds, it's like, you know, pretty good testers, but it's not something you would sell. You don't know who those they might end up in someone who, like, you know, it opens up opportunities. I would say that promo packs are always a good idea in my world.
Yeah, I agree. I've met a lot of good people, you know, that just met me through growing a free pack or a pack that somebody gifted them, and, you know, turned them onto my gear, and, you know, that's always awesome.
And they'll last for a while, these seeds. And you don't, like, I haven't stored them the best. I store them in an old cigar humidor in a drawer in the best room in my house. And
I mean,
and I get them 4 or 5 years later, and a lot of times they'll still germinate. Not always, but sometimes.
yeah.
What are you working on this year that you're excited about?
Well, a few things. I've been slow. You know, I think last time we talked, maybe not on a podcast, last time we just chatted, you know, I told you I was slowing down a little bit. With breeding, I don't know, I've kind of shifted gears a bit. After that long, strenuous lawsuit that just kind of drug us through the ringer against the KSB for so many years, you know, I lost a lot of my vault, auctioned off a lot of my gear. You know, so for me, it was about, and the next few years probably are just going to be about building that back up and building up my foundation to work with, and preserving some things that maybe I never had high numbers on, or had to sell a bunch of my gear so my numbers aren't what they want. So right now I'm just doing a lot of preservation work on my stuff. But I was gifted a pack of Skywalker OG BX1.
Oh, so, yeah.
I was gifted that from Red Eye Farms. Really cool gift. So it was an aficionado pack. Not a huge aficionado fan. Just gonna keep it real with you.
No, all good.
I would have never bought the pack on my own. I think $350 for a pack is just fucking outrageous.
Some people put price on their packs, and I just get angry at them. Like, I don't care if it's Skittles that's easy to grow and tastes the rainbow. If you're charging more than $100 for 12 seeds, like I look sideways at you every time.
Yeah, same here. So these were a gift, and I was like, well, you know, that's a blessing. I'm going to give them a shot. See, you know, the official Skywalker cut out of Arcata, things like that. So, you know, I was automatically interested. So I posted that up, and another friend gifted me probably 50 of the F2s of that Backcross. So I ended up popping everything all at once. Out of the F1s, I kept one female and one really nice male. Out of the F2s, I kept like 5 females and 2 males. So this is an open pollination Backcross. So BC2, I guess, maybe an N cross of sorts. But I'm gonna.
So you're open pollinating all of that progeny.
Yeah, well, it was a selective open pollination.
Okay.
There were a lot of non-desirable traits in the packs, namely from the F1s. A lot of runts, a lot of just straw plants where you're just growing a vine with no side branching whatsoever at all.
Oh, I
Really poor
hate that.
structure on a lot of them. Yeah, so my first cuts were pretty early on, and I wanted people need a plant that has a decent structure. That's a must. You can't just grow a single branch plant and expect it to produce enough to be worth your time. So my first cuts were based on structure, and that's why my numbers were so low for the open pollination. So I'm gonna take these. I'm gonna hunt the progeny out of these. I'll release this BC2, just because I feel confident in my selections. The females are just dead ringers for the old school Skywalker as far as terps go. Appearance wise, they've got that just classic early 2000s OG Kush look to them. Really pleased with what I've selected. But I want to take, the progeny of those and hunt those out and then do the same thing again. Look for structure, look for the most vigorous plants, and then select out for flavor and aroma after I've selected for structure. And then once I do that and come out with, either an N-Cross or IBL, whatever you want to call it on the next release, then I'll feel confident that, maybe I'll charge double what I usually charge, and I'll charge somebody, instead of $30, these would be 60, and I'll just be like, I'm busting balls this time, boys. These are 60 a pack.
I might have to fuck with those packs. Because I wouldn't mind going back to Skywalker, because I never grew Skywalker, because I had really bad luck with every OG I grew, so I never tried Skywalker, because I tried
Alien. No, I totally. It can be really finicky to grow, and then the OGs are tough on their own. So my goal is to make it easier to grow for people that want to grow a good OG.
Yeah. Well, that's why you piqued my interest when you were talking about structure, because I know that a lot of people have problems. I've heard several people say that OG can be finicky on water, like it doesn't want a lot of water, but it does want the water it wants, and it's kind of a weird needle you have to thread, whereas maybe some other plants are a little easier that way.
For sure. And its calcium needs are specific. If you grow it perfectly, it kind of comes out bland. If it almost likes to be beat up just a little bit.
No problem.
It likes to go through trauma response, and then it really kicks up the flavor, I feel like.
Yeah, you're making me sound like I don't want to grow it again. I get. Go ahead.
Yeah, and again, that's my goal with this, is so that people who don't want to grow OGs feel comfortable growing OGs. And I feel like maybe on this first back cross, you might get more of a wild card with some plants that might be finicky, but I feel like by the second time I've ran my course with it, I'll get those numbers way down, so that the majority of what you're growing is easy to grow, grower friendly, newbie could grow it and still get the same flavorful OG with that head ripping high. So that's my goal.
Yeah, that head high is sought after, and that Skywalker has a specific calming OG, kind of it still has that spacey uplift that you get with a lot of the headier OGs, but it doesn't have any of that I call it body launch. Some of the OGs you'll smoke and your head will get relaxed, but then you'll want to go really get active, but be relaxed in your headspace, almost like a flow state. You could almost go be really relaxed and in a good headspace, but go play a really arousing game of ping pong.
Yeah.
Whereas the Skywalker kind of got rid of that ping pong aspect, and you just got a chill head high with a little chiller, not couch lock, but a middle of the road hybrid, good painkiller. Yeah.
let's hit the lazy river and float down the stream type of deal.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I miss someone local dispensary had a cut of OG for a long time that they grew that I really liked, but then they just stopped carrying it for whatever reason. The Skywalker was really good.
A lot of people stopped carrying, a lot of OGs, and that's a shame. And a lot of them aren't. You'll see them in shops and stuff, but they're not what they used to be. So. I know there's also a ton of people out there breeding OGs and doing OG work. It's nothing new. I'm not doing anything groundbreaking here, but I feel like making Skywalker easy to grow, giving people more options. If you want to grow Skywalker OG, you shouldn't have to pay $350 a pack for it, and then you shouldn't get one keeper out of that pack. You should be paying less than $50 a pack, and you should be finding at least half the pack should be keepers, in my opinion. Maybe my expectations are I don't know.
I don't think your expectations are too high. There's a reason that I am always popping your pack in all of my phenol hunts so I only pop generally like 5 or 6 seeds from every pack every year, and then I take whatever females of that. And then whatever keepers of that. And sometimes I'll run females that are kind of like, whatever, because it's a girl and I have space in my garden for it. This year I got, I got one for sure female out of the 5 that I ran from you that's a keeper. And then but I got 2 keepers out of that 5 run. The other 3 one was runty, 2 were definitely males and beefy males. Like really beefy, like I kind of was like, when they first popped, I was like, oh, you're fucking male. Like, just like coming out, just flexing. Hey, where the bitches? I'm like, calm down, dude. And then there's one that's like, I think might be a sneaker male. It hasn't shown any female sexual characteristics. And it's got some like structures that look like they want to shoot out female, but I'm letting it run until I'm sure, but I think I'm going to end up killing it. But it's got this really pretty red stem where it's getting woody at the base. It's an outdoor plant, so it's getting woody at the base, and instead of having like a pale, like brown kind of sandy tone stem, it's got this like pink, reddish, orange, red thing going on. So I'm kind of just letting it go until I absolutely have to kill it just because it's pretty, if that makes sense.
Oh yeah, 100%. I've got a few out back that I'm doing that with as well. I had a couple Bubba Kush cross the Chocolate Rain from Off Grid Seed Co. And they were my runts out of the pack, and I was like, oh, I don't need these. I put them outside, and it turns out everything else in that pack, surprisingly enough, is the only pack I've ever popped that had the majority males. I think 9 out of 10 of what I popped out of that were males. But they were gorgeous plants. Any other time I would have used them, but I was kind of backlogged on my work and had males lined up and pollen stacked up and didn't have space for them. And I just put one outside just so I could watch it grow, and it was beautiful. Yeah. Once it started getting to where it was about to drop, I cut it down,
Yeah, that's the other thing that's weird about this Agha's banana patch is it's just not showing. It usually, all of my plants show by like the 15th. Even if they're outside, they're usually like, they're already showing right now. I've already killed all the males. Usually before I even get to this point, I've already got a trellis on, and I've still got 2 plants that I'm not sure about, which is usually not the case.
Yeah, and that's surprising given, the heavy Afghan lineage in that it still hasn't shown. That's surprising.
Yeah, this one's weird. So like the one, like you said, the only thing that makes me think it's for sure an Afghan is it's red. It's that stem. That stem is freaky. Yeah. And so when I see like a really like red stem or like sometimes like a weird color stem, I'm like, oh, you're old. You have old, like, pardon the phrase, I know we don't like using not old world. What's a good new word for old world? Back east, way back east. Genetics, Thailand, Afghanistan, stuff like that. When I start seeing like purple stems or bleeders or stuff like that, I'm like, oh, you've got some like old world freaky deek in you, And so I just like looking at it. But the other Agaz banana patch, as soon as I put it in the ground, it started laterally branching just like an Afghan. I only had to top it once. It's spreading beautifully. It's got big fat leaves. It smells like kind of like a stinky, vaguely minty Mercini, like you want, like I wanted. Yeah. And then the other one smells like that, but it kind of looks like this Girl Scout cookie cut that was like needing to be like let go. Like my friend, it turned out this was his mother plant that his worker had given. Long story, but I ended up with some dude's mother plant that I finished in my yard, and it had these weird tri leaves. It was an old Thin Mint Girl Scout and had these weird triple. Instead of having like a 7 or a 5 or a 9 bladed leaf, it would have like these little triplet leaves. And my buddy said, "Oh, it's genetics or like fading. It needs to finish or whatever." But this other plant started doing that too a little bit. I don't know. It's just a weird trait that I have only seen once before. And then
my goblin gas does that. It's just threes all the time.
But other than that, it's beautiful. And it's throwing out typical leaves too. So it's weird. I probably would have killed it, but I had the space.
Why kill it if you have to let it grow?
Yeah, and then
it could always be used for oils or something like that. If it doesn't have the terpene profile you like, it can always be used.
Yeah, I bet you it's male, but I just don't know. So, how many greenhouses are you running this year?
Man, just one.
Okay.
One. And it's all I can handle too. It's a big one. I wish our plant count here sucks. I wish I didn't have to keep it so my number's so low. If I had this greenhouse, or the ability to get a license with it, things would be different. But only being able to grow 5 to 10 plants in a space is tough. So I just try to get them as big as I can, and go from there.
Okay, yeah, that makes sense. So
lots of chili in the space.
Oh yeah. I've got jalapenos and Hungarian black peppers is all I'm doing this year. I've got like 12 plants.
I've got probably 50 plants, but probably 6 or 7 varieties. Nothing like some of my pepper buddies do. I got people that, they'll grow 50 varieties, 200 plants, and that's a lot for me to manage, with 2 young kids and other things going on. That's a lot.
Oh yeah, you've got the kids, you've got all that farm stuff going on, and also like pepper plants when they're going well, it's fine, but when they're not, they can be kind of labor intensive. And like me personally, everything I'm doing on like it's a larger residential plot. I don't want to give too much away, but it's a quarter acre or less. I don't have a lot of land. I'm not in some, wonderful rural, like, 3-acre plot or something. I'm on some tiny, like, I'm just in a neighborhood I just figured out how I could do this with the chickens and everything. It's all about space management and being willing to smoke a joint uncomfortably close to chicken shit.
Yeah. Which we should all be comfortable doing. Let's be real.
Yeah.
Let's get back to where we're comfortable smoking around animal manure. We've gotten too far away from that.
Yeah, within reason. I think you should keep the pigs and cows at least 20 feet from the main house. That's my opinion.
So, I agree with that.
you've got it's July right now. The plants are going to start blooming. I mean, honestly, here a couple weeks, I think you'll start seeing the stretch happen, if not some flowers set very early, depending on the variety. Are you doing any pruning to prepare, or do you do any of that, or?
Yeah, I do. I go in and clean out the middles. I do that a little bit earlier than a lot of people because, you know, at this point you can identify, just empty growth is what I call it. The little spindly limbs and branches that want to grow at the base of the plant, right off the meristem.
Yep.
So you want to go in and clean all of that up. Airflow is not the best sometimes, on these hot days. So I like to make sure everything's cleaned out and can breathe well. That if I spray, I'm able to hit all the areas and not just getting blocked by by leaves and stems that aren't going to be producing for me anyway.
Right.
So I like to stay up. I see people and I'm like, man, this plant's so full and lush, and I'm like, I have to tell myself, like, yeah, it is, but he needs to go in and probably clean out a bunch of fan leaves and a bunch of little growth. And so, I like to stay on top of that.
Yeah, I do. I do it in stages to not shock the plant too much. As they get bigger, they can handle more. But a lot of times, I use a plastic trellis netting, and my plants are going to be, they're probably going to be 6 feet tall or taller when they're done flowering, if not a little bigger. And right now, I'm spreading them at a trellis that's a little above waist height. I'm going to spread it a little more, maybe a couple more days, and they're going to start shooting up. And I've already skirted, but what you'll see is if you're using a trellis, like he says, there's empty growth. There's empty growth, and there's also growth along the bottom of the plant that's not going to reach the trellis. It's going to put on good weight, and then it's going to break, or it's going to end up resting those flowers in the dirt. So anything that's not going to be captured by at least your first layer of trellis after the stretch, which is hard to know as a beginner. As you get more experienced, you'll figure out that you'll have a long lateral branch, and it'll be a big, beefy branch, but you also know that it's going to grow out laterally, not really vertically, and it's not going to get into your trellising, and you're going to end up with, maybe a quarter pound or, an eighth of a pound or a lot of, at least an ounce of weed that's just sitting in your grow medium or your dirt or your straw or whatever. Right. And you're like, well, crap.
Yeah. So either prune it or, make a secondary tie off and tie that off to the, the trellising and keep it off the ground at least.
Yeah. Yeah. And you can do that too. It's a matter of space and stuff. I put my,
and if it's worth it for you or not. Sometimes I'll do that, and I'll go in and I've got some lower branches that I haven't cut off yet, and I'm like, well, maybe I can tie this one up. Maybe this one will produce for me. But then there's others that, if it's already pointed down and it's only got leaves on it, you can rest assured as soon as it puts on buds, it's just going to snap off at the meristem, and then you're going to have an open wound on your plant and flower. So, it's better to just go ahead and take care of anything like that. Anything that's already pointed towards the ground, below your trellising, go ahead and knock it. If it seems like it wants to stretch up to it, maybe it's worth tying it off and giving it a little bit of support so you can harvest that branch.
Yeah. Yeah, it's good to do that. It's good to prune. And do you chop and drop, or do you remove the excess litter from your greenhouses?
Well, I've got fabric right now. In my pots, I'll chop and drop unless I see certain leaf damage or pests, and then I'll remove it and add it to my compost pile or my burn pile, either one. A lot of it, I'll just cut it, stack it in a pile, then I'll chop it and use it for mulch in another part of my garden. So it usually gets used.
Yeah. So burying the lead here a little bit. We talked a little bit before the show about the cannabis culture and the way it's gone over the years, and how you and I especially, I can't speak for you. We could talk a little bit about it. Am disappointed in the way that it's become more about, like, at least the political bent of a lot of the media and a lot of the way that people relate to the plant is very like business oriented and capitalist oriented and very like, I'm getting mine and flashy and you know what I'm talking about. Very, very materialistic in a way that I've found to be uniquely disappointing.
Yeah, I have to agree with that. There's been so many backdoor deals and so many, you have lobbyists and MSOs that wrote the laws in some states. I never really envisioned cannabis being a suit and tie type of business, but in the year 2025, it's kind of become that in a lot of ways. Pretty disappointing. But I don't know what we would expect here in America. Everything gets monopolized pretty quick and handled by the corporations. You follow the money, you follow the lobbyists, you see, what states these lobbyists have the most power in. You look at their laws, then you look at, are home grows allowed? Who runs the dispensaries? Here in Illinois, they tout social equity this, social equity that, but they just appoint women or people of color as figureheads for the company while still maintaining, that corporate ownership from some rich white dude at the top.
Yeah,
So
the vision was always for dudes like you or dudes like, who had bigger operations, I don't know, to take these people under their wing and show everyone how it was done, and then to expand the industry into these underserved communities, not like you're describing, using them as figureheads and just paying them a salary and not giving them the means to produce the plant on their own and come up with their own genetic lines and all these vertically integrated things. That was the point of social equity programs. It wasn't just to put an equitable face on a business. It was to make the business more equitable by expanding it into these underserved areas, and that didn't happen.
Did not happen. State after state, we've seen that. I'm not sure there's one example of a state where that has happened. Maybe the closest is Maine. Those guys fight hard for representation and rights and things like that, but most other states have just been conquered.
Yeah, I would say that's accurate. There are communities of like home growers online, and there's places like this show. There's other shows online. I think Growcast is one, a few others that I can't think of off the top of my head, but there's a few places and communities out there where you can find people that are still promoting, if not, equitable cannabis or whatever. They're promoting independent production of cannabis, independent of corporate interests or any of that. They're for home grow, or you might call it gray market, whatever you want to call it, but a cannabis culture and market and scene outside the dispensary taxed model.
Yeah.
And I think it's very important, even if these communities are very small and fractured, is that we as home growers, as activists, as business people, do our best to cultivate these spaces. I'm not saying, whatever, but if you've got a choice between listening to the Bagseed Chronicles and whatever, maybe listen to this one, because no one's paying me to blow smoke up your ass. I get free product. That's about all I get. One day, maybe someone will pay me, and when they do, you will be able to tell that they're paying me. Trust me, I'll tell you. I'll tell you. I'll be like, I am a corporate whore for X. They gave me a free bong and $200. So they're great, and you should buy their bong. I'll tell you. But no one's given me a free bong and $200 yet. Now, listen, I've told you my price. I'm very cheap.
I'm just asking for an 8-ball of Coke and $2 million. That's what I asked for.
Oh, okay. So Dr. Grenskye is more expensive than I am.
I'm talking Baby Billy price.
I don't even know what I would do with an 8-ball of Coke.
I don't know. I hear you smell it or something. I don't know. Smelling salt.
It's like snuff, right? It's for the
Snuff.
aroma.
I was watching those snuff hammers. Have you seen those?
Oh,
I guess they're big over in like some Scandinavian countries. I'm not sure which
the
one,
machines that shoot the snuff up your nose.
And just snuff rockets right up the nose.
Yeah, I would have to do that. I think I'd have to.
It's wild.
Did you ever do snuff growing up, or do you still do snuff?
No. Man, I took a dip one time. I was fishing with some buddies, put in a dip of some Copenhagen long cut. And I'm like spitting on the bank. I start feeling a little bit woozy. I go to cast, and the next thing you know, I cast myself with the pole into the water. Get out, I puke.
Oh,
no, I'm not a big fan of tobacco. It makes me dizzy.
yeah.
Still to this day. If somebody asks me to roll a blunt for them and it's natural leaf, I'll get dizzy just from licking the blunt.
Oh, really?
Yeah. And it's wild because I don't know. I think I've told you before. I grew up working in tobacco fields.
Yeah, we talked about it. You explained how the barns worked and how everything was racked up. It was really interesting.
Right. Yeah. So even then, I would get sick. I'd go home after work and I'd be sick. I'd get up and go do it the next day.
See, I had the exact opposite. I had the exact opposite experience with tobacco. Bless my heart. The first drag of a cigarette I ever had. Oh man, every damn bulb in my brain lit up and was like, man, this is great. I feel dizzy. I feel lightheaded. I love this. I'm never going to stop. This is all I'm going to do. And that's all I did for 15 years was smoke cigarettes. Oh man.
I guess I'm lucky then.
Oh yeah, whatever demon that is that makes you. I mean, I've got a pack of blunts sitting on my table over there right now. I've still got the demon. I don't feed it like I used to, but I still indulge in tobacco from now and again.
Good stuff.
It's not, but if you're gonna do it, go ahead and pick it up from Brothers Broadleaf. It's independently sourced, hand rolled in Nicaragua. Enjoy.
Fuck yeah.
If you're gonna do tobacco, do nice tobacco. It's easier on the chest and it makes you seem fancy.
100%.
Don't listen to me.
Hey, I'll puff a cigar once every 2 years. I had a buddy gift me a cigar from Kentucky, and I puffed it, and honestly, it was pretty nice. I didn't inhale, so I wasn't like all dizzy and wanting to puke off my porch or anything. It was just a nice, pleasant aroma. Nice flavor. It took me back. It was good.
Tobacco smells nice, especially before you light it. It actually, honestly, if you're not a smoker or someone who consumes tobacco, it smells its best. Just sitting there in its leaf form or when it's been processed to smoke, it smells really nice. Some of it smells like sandalwood a little bit.
For me, is the twist knot. Chew. I don't know if you've ever smelled it or not.
No, I haven't.
It's probably a southern thing here, and you don't even really see it here in Illinois, so it's like farther south.
Is it like just plug tobacco?
Yeah, plug tobacco.
Okay, yeah, I've seen it. It's been many years.
Yeah, that stuff smells incredible. My uncle used to do that, and man, I would just open it up and smell it, and he's like, "Get you a big chaw." Like, no thanks.
They'd
good.
always try to give it to the kid who would not take it. They never offer that shit to me. That shit go in my mouth so quick.
They never offer it to the wild one. Yeah, it's always the kid that's a little stupid and doesn't want to try. That's the kid they're always, go get you one.
They'd offer me that, and I'd have a chaw the size of a baby's arm in my mouth, and I'd be puking in 5 minutes.
That's great.
I never took to smokeless tobacco. I don't have the stomach for it.
Yeah, me either.
Every once in a while, I'll have some nasal snuff, but that's a habit I picked up in the Army of all places.
Right. Yeah, I've yet to try the nasal stuff.
Oh, that's the weird one. I think that by the time you and I are very old men, it would surprise me that if you even saw nasal snuff around anymore. It's an old way of doing it. I think the main demographic is in their like late 60s for that.
Right.
And culturally, I don't know about you, but when I was a kid, nasal snuff specifically was associated with like old, like almost like antebellum, like Confederate women. It was very like old Southern, like lady coded.
Old Southern women, yes. Which is bizarre.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was the same here. That's what I associated it with as well.
And then, yeah, and it was strange because I feel like my grandmother smoked, right? And her grandmother smoked. And they are from Oklahoma. But there were women where I grew up in Texas who were very old, and you'd still see like snuff spoons and stuff at the old folks' home.
Oh, wow.
Like on the counter, because I used to volunteer at the old folks' home in Tomball, Texas, when I was a young man. I think it was through the church. I don't even remember. It might have been through the church. And these old women and I don't even know if they were just decorations or if they still used them, but I got the impression that some of them still use them.
Fascinating.
Snuff is
the old folks hitting the snuff up.
Oh yeah. They never offered me. I was a young boy. Everything was very like gendered, especially with some of those older folks when I was a kid.
Yeah, it really was.
I that's one thing that I think we got away from a little bit that I would like us to stay away from is pointlessly gendering things that don't need to like for the longest time like certain types of like knitting is feminine or whatever, and like, you know, like carpentry is masculine. Like that's why. Like,
yeah, gender roles, you know, outdated gender roles. If I had a daughter, I'd definitely want her to know how to do some carpentry. Yeah.
Well, and that's an aptitude thing, you know. When I was a kid, I had aptitudes for certain things, but like you try to get me to run electricity, I'm not good with that. There's certain things that some people are good at. It has nothing to do with gender, and you're wasting someone's potential if they're like built, you know, mentally and physically to like do electrical work and run wire, and you're like, hey, bake this cake. That's not good for anyone.
It's not.
Well, Dr. Grenskye, it has been a riveting conversation as always. We are approaching the hour mark, and I have to go back and edit all this. And if it's more than an hour, my ADD brain starts screaming at me. It was a lovely conversation as always. Is there anything that you'd like to say to the audience before we get out of here?
No, just, you know, be sure to follow my Instagram page. I think I'm on Red Scare Seed Co 7.0 right now. So yeah, through there, I usually post updates about drops and things like that. Yeah, I'll have the Skywalker drop coming up, and then I'm preserving some soap goblins. So I'll have some interesting things coming up soon.
Check that out. Check him out, and make sure to cop those seeds when they drop. Thank you so much for listening to Bag Seed Chronicles. I'll see y'all next time. Thank you for listening to the Bagseed Chronicles. And if you enjoyed this episode, please share it with a friend. Peace out. Yeah. Groovy. Allow for me to play you the music of my people. It's the final countdown.